If you're thinking about moving and you want to learn about what everyday life is going to be like in your new town, this is the place for you. On Open House, we sit down with local, top producing real estate agents to help you find the best places to live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you don't want buyer's remorse and you want to find your dream town, we are here for you. So go ahead and book a free call with us and we'll help guide you to the area that is right for you. Now, let's jump in and learn about your new home.
Hello, my name is Charles with Open House Media, and if you're ready to do a deep dive into what it's like to work and live in Frederick, Maryland, then you found the right video, because I have Stacy Allwein with me, and she's a licensed real estate professional, and she specializes in helping people get familiar with and move to the area. So if you're considering moving to Frederick, then you're in the right place. So let's dive right in. Stacy, thanks so much for being with me today.
It is my pleasure. I'm so excited to talk with you and teach you a little bit about Frederick and just let everybody know how awesome it is to be a part of this community.
Cool. So how long have you been a realtor?
So I got into real estate in 2008, which most people are probably like, oh my gosh, who would get into real estate in 2008? It was not a great time for the market, but actually it was a great time to get into real estate. So I actually learned what it was like to sell a house without just putting a sign in the yard. So I learned all about doing short sales and foreclosures, and that you really can survive them any kind of type of market. So especially now with the shifting market, it's I hope going to help me navigate anything that comes my way.
What made you get into real estate to begin with?
So my husband and I were investors. We had owned some rental properties, and I was working in the corporate world. I had a human resources position. I had worked in human resources for 20 some years and just was really burned out. And actually my brother had passed away from a drug overdose, and I was just done. I had kids, husband, family responsibilities that none of those were going to go away. And I just realized it was time for a career change.
Gotcha. I guess the rest is history, as they say, right?
Yeah, really, exactly. And best decision I ever made.
That's great. So how long have you lived in Frederick?
So my husband and I moved to Frederick County in 1990 when we got married. We both grew up in Maryland, lived in Maryland our whole life, and moved out to Frederick County for more affordable housing at the time. And I actually came here kicking and screaming, only from about 50 minutes away. But I was like, I am not moving to Frederick. It's so rural, and there's cow fields and all these kinds of things. And after about a year, I was just like, I'm never leaving Frederick County. And we had our kids, raised our family here, and can't imagine living anywhere else.
Oh, that's great. I guess that leads right into my next question, which is, what's the culture like in Frederick?
I think it's just an amazing culture. You kind of can find a little bit of everything you're looking for in Frederick, whether you want to live downtown and have a row house and just be able to walk everywhere, or you want to live on several acres and you want to be away from everybody and have some animals, you can do that in Frederick, or you can have your typical suburban neighborhood. There are great communities here. It's also the thing I love best about Frederick is I always say it's one of the largest small towns I've ever been to. So the community is amazing, and you can, go to downtown Frederick and be walking around, and no matter how many people are there, I feel like there's always somebody So kind of like, the cliche of, somebody always knows who you are, always knows your name. That's kind of what Frederick is. Great communities for families, for single people, for older people. There's something for everybody here, and I love that.
That's great. It sounds like, going back in history, when everybody kind of knew everybody and everybody knew everyone's kids and people left their doors unlocked kind of thing. That's kind of like the impression that you're giving me.
And, you know, of course, it's not like that in every single part of the, you know, of the community or the, you know, Frederick County. But I always say that I've always grown up here, or my kids grew up here with a false sense of, like, probably a false sense of security, because we were those people that always had our doors unlocked. Kids could go out and play. It's kind of like when I grew up, where you didn't, you know, there were always neighbors around to watch out for your kids, or you watched out for other people's kids. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of Frederick and the different communities that I like to show people, and I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that sounds really neat. Sounds like a cool place to live. So
Yeah.
in regard to history, what's the story behind Frederick? Where has it been, and where do you see it going in the future?
So Frederick has a long, long, long history. So much Civil War history back, that Frederick dates back to a lot of Civil War history. Best known for a lot of the Civil War sites here in Frederick. There's the National Civil War Museum is also located in Frederick. A lot of battlefields are located in and around Frederick, maybe not necessarily in Frederick County, and we're very close to Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of very well-known people visited Frederick back in the day, such as Abraham Lincoln and Ben Franklin and George Washington. And I know you always see places that, you know, George Washington slept here, but there is a lot of history in Frederick as far as that goes. Also, a fun fact is that Francis Scott Key, the author of the Star Spangled Banner, lived here in Frederick. And that's a real big notable fact.
Oh, wow.
And, so we have, you know, one of the malls here in Frederick is FSK Mall, so it's Francis Scott Key Mall. Also, just things I know off the top of my head that I always find so intriguing. It's currently being renovated into a hotel, but there was a small all-girls Catholic school in Frederick, and it was called Visitation Academy. And back in the day, it was still Visitation Academy back in the 1800s. And during the war, it was actually a hospital for the Civil War soldiers. And there was a tunnel underneath the ground that went between that and another school. And one of them was a girls' school and one of them was a boys' school. And the soldiers would go back and forth underground through the tunnel. And I might have the story a little wrong, but I've been in both schools. My kids went to both schools, and it was a lot of really cool history. And I just love, like, I'm not a huge history buff, but I love hearing these stories of places that I've spent a lot of time in.
So as far as the economics of the area, when it comes to where people tend to work at, are more people commuting, or are they staying local to work, or is it like a mix?
So it is a mix. We are about, I would say, 40 minutes west of Baltimore, and about 50 minutes north of DC. So we have a lot of people that commute to, you know, we have a lot of federal government employees that live in Frederick because it's a great place to live, a little less expensive than living close to the city. So we have a good portion of people that commute from both DC and Baltimore. But we do have some good employers, large employers in Frederick. So a lot of biotech. We have Fort Detrick and the National Cancer Institute. And, you know, our school system employs quite a few people, Frederick County Public Schools. And again, a lot of other biotech and manufacturing companies. So it is a mix, but a lot of government employees also, and contractors.
Gotcha. So as far as schools go, you mentioned schools for a second there. How do those rank? Are there any charter or specialty schools, independent schools? Talk about schools for a little bit.
So Frederick County Public Schools is our public school system. And they rate, the last I looked, about top 30% of all Maryland public schools. So I know when I first moved to Frederick 30 some years ago, that wasn't the case. And they've really, really, really advanced, and people are very happy with our school system. We also have some, private schools, both religious, not religious. And then within Frederick County Public Schools, I think we do have at least one charter school, maybe another one that's opening or has opened. We have a few Montessori schools in the area. And so there's a lot of options for, whatever people are looking for.
Great. When it comes to entertainment, what kind of restaurants, bars, breweries, distilleries, what kind of things are there for nightlife and, just getting out and having a good meal?
There is every option you could possibly think of. So our downtown Frederick area is real, desirable for entertaining. There's tons of different restaurants, every type you can think of, from a steakhouse to, and a lot of these places are small, really cool places, to Spanish restaurants, sushi restaurants, Cuban restaurants, anything you can think of. There's also bars where local musicians play. We have an area called Baker Park, which is a really cool park where we have a lot of bands play in the summertime. We have in downtown Frederick something called First Saturday, where they have the restaurants and the stores stay open late, different activities, different themes, very, very community oriented types of things, very dog oriented. Every store has like a dog bowl outside with water and dog bones. Bring your dogs in, except if you have my dogs, because my dogs are crazy. I wouldn't do that to anybody. So lots of that kind of thing. Last week we just had something called In the Street, which is an annual event in downtown Frederick where people come from all over to participate in just fun festival like things. All the restaurants open up outside with tables. We have like kids events. I know my granddaughter's gymnastics group did a flip-a-thon, how many flips they can do. We had a real estate table out there. Every real estate team around or group had their information out. It was just a great day, beautiful weather.
That's great. Are there any, concert halls, sporting arenas? What kind of stuff is there, with regard to
We don't have, well, we do have the Frederick Keys, which is like minor league baseball. It's kind of changed. I don't know what league they're in anymore. That's kind of changed as of the last couple of years. We do have that, the Frederick Keys. We're not very far from Mount St. Mary's University, which has a basketball team and some soccer teams. People like to go watch that. But we don't have a major concert hall or sports complex in the area.
Where would be the closest one? Maybe in DC?
So some of the closest places to see concerts would be DC, Baltimore. Also in Columbia, there's something called Meriwether Post Pavilion, where that's where a lot of local, not local, I'm sorry, I'm messing up here. So if you went to Meriwether Post Pavilion, that's where a lot of concerts. So when the big bands and musicians come for concerts, people can go to Columbia. That's like a half-hour away, or they could go to Virginia or DC. So if you get tickets to a great concert, that's probably where you're going to go.
Okay. Well, for people with kids, what kind of things are there for kids to do, like trampoline parks, go-kart tracks, arcades, special sports, anything like that?
So kids, Frederick is kids, very kid friendly. So we have every different individual town within Frederick, and mostly I would say like feeder school, like to the different high schools, has their own like sports programs. So like, for example, I live in Newmarket. All the kids in Newmarket play for the LUYA, which is the Linganore-Urbana Youth Athletics Association, and it actually is LAUYA now, Linganore-Urbana Oakdale. We're growing because everything is growing so much. So they have every sports team you can possibly think of, from soccer to baseball, cheerleading, poms, football, basketball. And there are from beginner level to travel teams. And that's a real big thing. And every town has that for the kids to participate in. And then high school sports are really big, kind of like Friday night lights. That's a big thing in Frederick. And you get that feeling no matter whether you have kids playing or not. You have that, I don't know, my adrenaline I get like a rush. My kids are out of high school now. They're way out of high school, but I love that feeling when my kids were in high school, and I still love, seeing that. And it's a big community thing where people still have their rivalries and their allegiances to their high schools. There's tons of different trampoline parks, skate parks, arcades, just different. There's a million things to do with kids. There's also different places to go do crafts, pottery places to make signs, and kid friendly things. So there's really something for everyone in Frederick.
Like, it sounds like there's a lot of stuff to do there for sure for the kids. So that's great. Are there any special local events that happen annually, like fairs, festivals, races, holiday events, things like that?
Absolutely. And this is a perfect time that you're asking this. So this past weekend started the Great Frederick Fair. And the Great Frederick Fair, I don't have the date, but I think it goes back to like maybe the 1800s, if not the early 1900s. And it's huge. It's an agricultural fair. And has all the typical things of a fair. So we have, the rides, the games, the food is amazing, and all the animals. And we have 4-H. So the kids that are in 4-H are there to show their animals, sell their animals. And that's a big deal. So they use that money that they sell their animals for to help them with college or whatever other expenses they have for their future. And it lasts a week. And it is a big deal. We even have Fair Day here in Frederick, where the kids get off school, like they'll get off school this Friday for Fair Day. So it's a big deal.
I wish I had that. I know. I didn't get a Fair Day.
I know. So that's a big thing. And then all through the summer on Thursdays, every Thursday, there's something in Frederick called Alive at 5, which is 5 o'clock. And we have something called Carroll Creek. And it's on the creek, and there's a band that plays every Thursday, and there's beer and different vendors, and you pay like $5 to get in. It's really affordable, and it's for adults, but it's really cool. And if you have kids, you can be on the other side of the fence and listen to the bands. But if you want to go in and partake in the alcohol and beer and wine, then you go inside, and it's just a really cool, fun, networking and just fun event. And if it rains on Thursdays, you can hear people complaining starting in the morning that Alive at 5 is going to be canceled.
It sounds like a great time over there. Sounds like a really rich and lots of things to do for sure.
So
let's talk a little bit about, your outdoor enthusiast. Are there any lakes, rivers, or parks, trails, caves, tunnels, all that kind of fun stuff? What do you have in Frederick?
So Frederick is really cool because we're located in central Maryland, so like mid-Maryland. We are close to the mountains. We're close to the C&O Canal. So people can ride their bikes on the C&O Canal. They can boat on the Potomac River. They can hike. There's so many different places to do that. And we're only 2 hours away from Deep Creek Lake, which is up in western Maryland. So if they, you want to take a long weekend or a short weekend, really, you can go up to Deep Creek Lake. You can boat in the wintertime. There's a ski resort there, so you can ski, hike, all the things that you would want to do. We're also only about 3 hours from the ocean. So a lot of people go to Ocean City, Maryland, the Delaware beaches, and you can enjoy all the beach life. So we're located in a really, really awesome place. In addition, we're so close to DC and all of the nation's capital history for sightseeing and enjoying the DC area.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun stuff to do outdoors there for sure. Let's talk about housing for a minute. What kind of homes can you find in the area? Are there a lot of new developments, historic homes, farms, townhomes, apartments? What's the predominant style going on in the area?
So there's a little bit of everything. Of course, we do have a lot of historic homes, a lot of all over the county. You'll find some historic homes, especially in our downtown areas. A lot of building, lots and lots of building. Like some people will say, way too much building. Depends on what your opinion is, but there's stuff popping up everywhere. And I know the 30 some years that I've lived here, like so much of the land has gone away from new construction, and that could be anywhere from condos, townhouses, single family homes, and we pretty much have it all. So you'll see a little bit of everything. And unfortunately, a lot of the farms have gone. We still have a lot, but a lot of the farmers have sold their land as their retirement, and they've turned into housing developments.
Gotcha. So what's the median income in Frederick?
So the median income is just a little over $100,000 in Frederick.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's countywide.
What's the median home price in Frederick?
So, that's gone up quite a bit, especially in the last couple of years. So the median home price in Frederick is about $435,000.
Okay. And someone considering moving there, how much house could they get for $435,000? Could you describe that a little bit?
So again, with everything that's going on with our economy and inflation, and so for $435,000, it depending on what part of Frederick you move to, you could get anywhere from a really nice townhouse, 4-bedroom townhouse, to a small single family home. Maybe a 3-bedroom single family home, a little bit older. Just really depends on what style and what you're looking for, but that's probably what you would get for that price range.
Gotcha. Yeah, just trying to get an idea, what someone could expect or how much house they could get for that price. So that's great. So if you had one tip that you could give a home buyer that's considering moving to Frederick, what would it be?
Well, first of all, call me, Stacy Allwein, and I will help you. I think the most important thing is to really get to know the area, have a trusted realtor that can help you get to know the area, find out what place is going to be best for you, what's going to meet the majority of your needs, and you'll really just get informed about where you're going to work, what your commute time would be like, and what's important to you, whether you want to live in the city, whether you want to live more out in the county, just what's going to be important to you and your family, and what type of housing you're looking for. Do you want new construction? Do you want to buy a resale? Are you willing to put a little TLC into the house so that maybe you can get a little bit more house for your money? Those kinds of things. But really, just depending on what it is, having the right professional help walk you through the process.
Yeah, that sounds like really good advice. So I really do appreciate you answering all these very important questions that they're important for someone considering moving to the area. And I want to thank you very much for being on here and answering those questions for us. If you're considering moving to Frederick, Maryland, please do look at the contact information below this video and contact Stacy Allwein, and she would be glad to help you find that perfect home in Frederick, Maryland. So thank you very much for watching.
I would. Thank you so much. And I am passionate about Frederick, love living here, and would love answering any questions for anybody.